Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder on this third Sunday in March. It's the first day of spring. And most of us here know what springtime in the Rockies is like, so except maybe an occasional transplant from Chicago or Memphis or some of those places. But today is also the day of equal light and equal dark, because it was exactly 2 years and 5 days ago that we began this adventure of managing and maintaining the community through the total unknowns of a pandemic. And at the time, we had absolutely no idea what to expect or how long it might take. And perhaps those images of equal light and dark are a very apt metaphor for what we did go through. This morning, you'll be hearing from members of this community as they recount some of their memories and experiences from this time and from different perspectives. Hello, my name is Fred Cole, and it's my privilege to be the worship leader for today's service. It's so wonderful seeing faces again. It's just great. And we welcome all at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. All of you are welcome, and all of you are sacred. Whatever your past was like, whatever your present journey is for the present moment is for you, we invite you to join us as we move forward on this journey. And this welcome goes out to those of you who are joining us via the magic of the internet. We're changing our system a bit this morning. We're going to a YouTube connection, and there should be on your Zoom connection, you should be seeing a screen that will allow you to make that change. There will be a chat box if you need to get a message to us. I turned 2 pages here. And if you're a new or online visitor, please email our office and let us know how you found us. You'll find the email addresses listed in the chat, and you'll also find a link to our website, which has a great deal of information about the activities and programs of this church. Now, March is the Pledge Drive month, as you all know, and I'll ask Whitney to give us a brief update.
Hi, everyone. My name is Whitney Wheelis. I'm one of the co-chairs. The other co-chair is Jennifer Skindaleski. As you know, we are well into our annual pledge drive. This is when we make our financial commitments to our congregation and our future for the next church year that begins on July 1st. The flame of this chalice shows our progress towards our pledging goal of $400,000. We are 44% of the way there. This beautiful flame will continue to grow as pledges come in this month, and we close out the drive in early April. And today, during the coffee hour, about 12:15 or 12:20, we will draw the first 4 names for the UUCB goodie bags for those who have turned in pledges by the end of the service today. I know, it's exciting. Our final drawing will be next Sunday for 4 more lucky winners, so get your pledges in by the 27th. These are both online and in person, dropping them off. Either one works. We so appreciate your commitment and generosity in supporting our faith community.
Thank you, Whitney. Just as a note, you can return your pledge card either directly to the church in person or by mail, or there is an online link which should be appearing in the chat box. It's also found in the weekly newsletter of the Messenger. And in that spirit, let me take a moment to say a big thank you to our Pledge Drive stewards, the folks who are following up and making sure we get pledges in by the end of the month. Catherine March, Nancy Spear, Allison Churnside, Caitlin Abbott, Caitlin Moore, Sharman Dorstiger, Chris Zanoni, John Cuddington, Janet Evans, Bob Evans, Diane Ewing, and Sharon Ballou. Let's give them a hand. For this morning's call to worship, I've chosen a reading by an unknown author. It's taken from this month's Soul Matters packet, Renewing Faith. How do we renew our faith when so much is falling apart in these fragile days? We who address life through this fire of reason find so little reason to trust that everything is going to be okay. The climate is collapsing. Racism so often morphs rather than being removed. Politics divide more than they unite. Don't tell us it's slowly getting better. Don't ask us to deny the feelings of despair that feel so real. On so many days, we've lost our hope for a better day. But do we long for it? We do long for it, don't we? Despite the setbacks and slowness, there remains something inside that continues to say, it can be better. More is possible. I need to believe that goodness is real. It's a longing that lingers no matter what. Maybe that's what the preacher meant when he spoke of faith as a hunger for home. Maybe faith is more about remembering our longing for what we love and who we want to be. More than just an act of restoring our trust that everything will work out well. Well, maybe the Freedom Marcher was right. We must remain faithful to the fight, not because change is guaranteed, but to ensure that we are not changed. And so ends the reading. I now invite everyone to lift yourselves up, your voices, either in body and spirit, as we sing a very traditional Unitarian hymn, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. This hymn is so traditional, it's number 1 in the Gray hymnal.
May nothing evil cross this door, and may the fortune never cry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This hearth, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold
Joining us online and have a candle or a chalice near your computer, please get ready to light it. And we invite you to type into the chat where your chalice is being lit, the street or neighborhood, or what city if you're joining us from outside of Boulder County. Tom and Karina Dinkenwolf will light this morning's chalice.
Good morning. My name is Tom Dengenwolf, and I joined UUCB in 2009, shortly after moving to Boulder. Other than my brother and his wife, who were living here then, I had no community in Boulder. UUCB quickly became my community, and when my brother and his wife moved away in 2010, UUCB became my chosen family. From 2011 to early 2016, as I struggled with the ups and downs and embarrassing blunders of dating, the UU Young Adult Group became my brothers and sisters, supporting me with love and compassion, and my UU moms and my UU dads gave me their wisdom and hope that someday I would find my partner.
My name is Karina Dinkenwolf. I lived in Boston from 2013 to early 2016. I didn't struggle quite as much with dating, but I also couldn't seem to find the right guy. During that time, I visited my parents in Boulder for some holidays, and I loved coming to UUCB with them to hear Kelly's sermons. In 2016, I landed a job in Boulder, and I moved to Colorado. The first full day I was in Colorado was Valentine's Day, and I came to UUCB service with my parents. New to the area, I was looking for community and help with finding a place to rent.
I was at church that Sunday. And I still remember the first time I saw her in the Sky Room. She looked at me, smiled brightly, and said,
"Hi, I'm Karina. Can you help me find an apartment?"
"Yeah." Two weeks later, we went on our first date.
1 year later, we got engaged.
And in the summer of 2018, we got married here at UUCB. As I'm a financial advisor,
And I'm on the UUCB Finance Council.
we are acutely aware of the I word.
Inflation.
To make sure we stay ahead of inflation, we are happy to raise our pledge by 10% this year to help support this loving church, which supported me during my hard times.
And brought us together. We
Light this chalice in gratitude for this community of love and hope.
And now we invite everyone who is gathered, those here in this room and those out there in cyberspace, to join together in fellowship and community as we repeat our congregation's covenant together. We gather in fellowship to speak truth to each other, to reach out and touch one another, to care with each other, and to seek the truth divine. So be it. Janet?
Friends, will you take a breath with me? Good morning. I'm Janet Evans, and today's service embodies the theme of emerging stronger together, building community and resilience. During the pandemic, one way that I built personal resilience was via the spiritual practice of meditation. Unitarian Universalist Denise Davidoff describes personal spiritual practice as taking time to consciously acknowledge the gift of life most every day. Taking time to consciously acknowledge the gift of life every day. In March 2020, shortly after the pandemic began to kind of envelop us, Reverend Dana started daily meditations on Zoom. Often there were a dozen of us. It was a community. We were seeking the calm and the clarity that comes from meditation. Dana offered meditations every day for weeks, and I was there every day for weeks as well. Occasionally, Francesca Howell led a meditation. It was preceded by a thoughtful reading, and sometimes Dana would sing to us or play the flute. I always love it when Dana sings. I sat in a chair by an open window, and I'd hear the birds, and I'd hear lawnmowers and leaves rustling, and the world was awakening into spring. I lit a candle, and it smelled like lilacs. I breathed in, and I breathed out. Dana often liked to start meditations with a quote from the late global spiritual leader Thich Nhat Hanh. For example, he wrote, "Breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile." Let's do that together. Breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I want to see your smiles. So nice, so nice. So continuing, Thich Nhat Hanh said, "Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is the only moment." Say that after me. This is the only moment. One more time. This is the only moment. Soon Deborah will lead us in a meditation, and it's one of my favorites. The words are simple. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. This singing, chanting meditation has many layers of sound, and it calms my soul. Spiritual practice can take many forms. Meditation is one of them that has helped me stay grounded during the pandemic. As Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, "I promise myself that I will enjoy every minute of the day that is given to me to live." May it be so.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe in
Breathe out.
peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out loud.
Let's keep that moment. Ritual is an outward expression of an inward experience. We invest ritual with meaning that wells up from within us and beyond us. But as it moves in both directions, ritual also changes and transforms us in the process. In a moment, we'll acknowledge those individual joys and sorrows among those gathered here in this earth room by coming forward to place a stone from the Boulder Creek into the rich soil of the Arapaho and Ute lands upon which this church was built. We will continue what was begun during the 9 a.m. Wellspring service. But first, I have a couple of things that I need to tell you about. One is remembering Barbara's cousin, Ann, who died yesterday in Arizona. And secondly, this morning's paper has the obituary for Elizabeth Maloney. And Betty was 99. She died about a week ago. Those who don't recognize the name, Elizabeth or Betty was married to Tom Maloney, the Reverend Tom Maloney, who was the first minister to the original Boulder Fellowship. And they also lived over in the Bowen House on Cherryvale Road, which was lost in the Marshall Fire. Before I ask you to come forward, I would like to have Janet step up and place 2 more stones into the sacred ground. The first is a collective prayer that the madness which has come into this world may soon reach an end, that the saner heads and hearts among our leaders can find a way forward that speaks to love, justice, and compassion. The second stone is to represent all of the sorrow and anguish that we are experiencing as we hear about the pain and suffering that is being inflicted upon the people in the Ukraine. Please, everyone, come forward. Ben? For all these blessings and concerns, as well as those that remain silently on our hearts, we hold this compassionate space with love. Thank you for all the ways in which you bless each other. Amen.
Artist Elise Engler begins her book, A Diary of the Plague Year, an illustrated chronicle of 2020, with this question: was there ever such a year? A global pandemic with millions dead, 500,000 Americans among them. A national uprising ignited by police killings of Black Americans. Cities shut down. Poverty soaring. A president inciting a riot to stop his election defeat. Hellish wildfires. Mass shootings. It was the worst year of our lives, people said. Apocalyptic, unprecedented, biblical in the scale of its disasters. We all became the story. My name is Chris Zanoni, and in my little corner of the world, in early March 2020, we had just returned from visiting good friends in Arizona. The news media was increasingly focused on stories about a virus originating in China, spreading around the globe, and eventually arriving in the United States. Around the same time, the former president, I try hard not to say his name, had been impeached for the second time. Who knew just how bad things would get? I'd like to share some thoughts on these past 2 years from a governance perspective. At that time, I was board president-elect. What does a board's work look like in the midst of a worldwide pandemic? Susan Beaumont's book, How to Lead When You Don't Know Where You're Going, Leading in a Liminal Season, captures the challenges we faced. Who knew how long we'd be in isolation, unable to meet in person, relying on virtual connections instead of face-to-face physical contact with an occasional hug and handshake? In early February, we had hosted a capital campaign workshop that generated lots of energy and excitement. Not long after that, Interim Minister Reverend Eric Poza asked the board not to renew the second year of his contract for health reasons. We'd need to find another interim minister quickly and begin the formal search for a new settled minister. Our Leadership Development Committee was already working on nominating a slate of members for the Ministerial Search Committee. They would begin its work the following year. Would we also need to conduct another formal interim search? Colorado's first COVID-19 case was identified on March the 5th, 2020. The board and staff were closely following the news, as well as information provided by the Unitarian Universalist Association. Thursday evening, March 12th, an all-church email titled Adapting to Coronavirus, COVID-19, was sent out. We would be gathering online instead of in person beginning that Sunday. Worship would be via Facebook Live on our Facebook page. Family ministry preschool and elementary age classes would begin on Zoom. There were plans for upcoming community nights and other online events. And as Janet mentioned, Reverend Dana offered weekday meditation sessions. I continue to marvel at how quickly staff shifted gears to respond to these changes, especially with so many unknowns. At the same time, I remember feeling a sense of impending doom. It sounded like the soundtrack to the movie Jaws, combined with the theme of the 60s comedy Get Smart. Anybody remember that? And the bumbling agent at Maxwell Smart would leave the building, and a series of doors would close, slam behind him. So our personal, professional, and congregational lives seemed to be shutting down on all fronts. My heart ached for parents and families who were dealing with the pressures and challenges of the pandemic, and for those who were all alone. I was deeply saddened to think of my former hospital colleagues and others in the healthcare system serving on the front lines. Was there ever such a year? We learned a new language, Zoom exhaustion, Blur's day, social distancing, flattening the curve, doom scrolling. How many times were you told you're on mute? And I'm sure I'm not the only one who donned the Zoom wardrobe. Professional, waist up, pajama bottoms, sweats, shorts, slippers, flip-flops on the bottom. Come on, tell me. How many of you attended Sunday services in your pajama bottoms? Show of hands there. I know you there. Absolutely no judging here. Although it was a bit overwhelming, there was work to be done. Collectively, we did our best to put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Based on our strategic priorities, and with the support of the UUA, we were able to hire Reverend Jeremy Nickel within about 2 weeks without needing to create an additional search committee. In his first official service in that September, he acknowledged, "This is going to be a weird year." He spoke of our working together without a map, imagining a world of possibilities, and emerging stronger than before. He promptly asked the board to conduct a fast-track budget review to reprioritize the budget's focus based on the pandemic realities, at least for as much as we could know them at the time. Because of our increased reliance on technology to stay connected, we approved significant investments to upgrade the network infrastructure and the phone system, including the technology for enhancing future worship services. We chartered the COVID-19 task force to formulate comprehensive phasing plans with detailed guidelines and procedures for when and how we would regather safely and in covenant. And we paid off our mortgage. Yes. We strongly supported our ministerial search committee, whose work, conducted almost entirely virtually, resulted in nominating Reverend David Schwartz. As you know, we unanimously approved him to be our new settled minister this past June. We hosted monthly Your Board is Listening sessions following Sunday Zoom services to increase board communication. We continue to host them, and there will be a Bible session today after the service. We analyzed our previous history of working with preschools that rented our facility, and we wanted to identify lessons learned from depending on a single source of revenue for rental income. This set the stage for a mutually beneficial business partnership with Blossom International Preschool, which is set to open in June. Last August, we joyfully regathered in person for Sunday services outdoors to celebrate our homecoming and to welcome Reverend David. And our awesome worship ministry and AV teams shifted to multi-platform worship. Consistent with COVID safety practices, today we're live streaming this service to our YouTube channel, and we're simplifying Zoom hosting, and the work continues. Photos of the board on our website reflect these times. Our 2020-2021 photo was a screenshot of a board meeting on Zoom. This year's photo shows masked board members outdoors during a break at our fall retreat. I'm hoping next year's photo will have smiling faces again. What has sustained me during these times? Connection with family, loved ones in new ways, reading lots of books, listening to music and podcasts, being outdoors as much as possible. This church, this community, all your lovely faces. Robert Putnam, author of Bowling Alone, The Collapse and Revival of American Community, states that church friends are supercharged, a special breed. That's been my experience here at UUCB. You'll soon be hearing more about our strategic priorities for the upcoming church year. These are very exciting times with our new settled minister and the ability, finally, to gather together in person to worship and to live our mission, to connect bravely, to deepen spiritually, to embody justice, and always love. We are emerging stronger together.
The piece you just heard was premiered in this room yesterday, and the composer is in our audience this morning. Good morning. My name is Jack Doggett. There are times in my life when I look back a ways, a couple of years maybe, and think, could I have predicted the way my life script has come about? For most of us, the past 2 years could not have been imagined and certainly not planned for. We've been through some trying times together. Some have suffered more than others. A house burning to the ground may be the worst. A mass shooting in a neighborhood grocery was unfathomable. And there's a distinctively immoral war going on in Ukraine. As much as I hate to say it, we will continue to have these hard times. But we've been through these changing times together, here in this room and all its extended activities in all sorts of locations. And yes, on Zoom and now on YouTube. But now and for some period of time to come, as Chris has said, we can be together, actively expressing and enjoying faith in ourselves and in our community, and seeing friends' faces and sharing hugs and letting go of some of the fears of the past 2 years. I don't know about you, but I feel better prepared for whatever's going to come next. The word wave comes to mind. We've lived through these strange times together. My wife Kay and I moved here in the summer of 2019 to be near family and to enjoy this last phase of our lives. As Kay talked about last week, we were drawn so close to this congregation at the all-church retreat in August of 2019. And we kind of rode the rest of the year on the connections we made at that retreat. And then the impact of COVID shut us all down in this community and all communities in mid-March of 2020. There was fear and uncertainty all around us. The closure of everything short of grocery stores and gas stations, Zoom and online services became the norm, and a crisis of faith developed for many of us. The term unprecedented was used to the point of redundancy. Questions at the time were, what does the future hold? What is the new normal? Will there and when will there be a vaccine? As Janet talked about, Reverend Dana stepped right up with a daily meditation group. She stated calmly to us all, and I quote here, "Suddenly, our routines, plans, and habits have all been disrupted from a threat we cannot see. We are all scrambling to do the right thing and take care of ourselves and each other. Along with the frenetic anxiety is also a great pause, a gift, a time for reflection. We can't change what's happening, but we can work with what we bring to it and how we choose to experience it," end quote. So Kay and my experiences in the first months of the pandemic shutdown cycled between fear and confidence. We moved into our new home in June and were invited into our daughter's family bubble, only to be uninvited later when school began and they commenced traveling. We found a middle way with a few personal get-togethers on the deck in warmer weathers and hikes and coffee shop conversations, all outside and seemingly safe. Can you recall how you connected with friends and family during that first wave? And then we had some good times when things opened up. From April through September of last year, things seemed much more relaxed. Social activities were easier, although church remained online. And then, as mentioned, in the summer of 2021, we all got to enjoy that small reopening, which, of course, wasn't to last. And we met Reverend David Schwartz at a church picnic here on the east side. Our hearts were opened up, and our church home seemed to be bound together with his. My primary enjoyment in congregational life for many years has been involvement in worship. And I was welcomed onto the worship team and volunteered to work with Steve Todd on a lay service in August of 2021. From that time, I had my connection to UUCB. Kay and I signed the membership book in October of last year and are very, very happy to be part of this congregation. And we see notable strengths of the faith of this community. And we've also seen 18 other new members join and be welcomed since July 2020. The activities of this congregation, like the Soul Matters Covenant groups, senior salons, and all the different varieties of social activism led by Reverend Dana, are ways of welcoming people and helping us all find peace, ease, and wisdom within this community. The list of activities offered includes the men's group, which anchored many of us guys, although it was online. The senior salon and the Friday book club are also stimulating sources for the congregation. And caring for Ingrid and her family drew many to this congregation happily. Online or in print, Membership Matters and the Weekly Messenger kept us all informed. But no, it was not the same as before March 2020, and no, it was not enough. But it was a continuity. We stayed connected as best could be arranged given the pandemic. And I believe, and many believe, that we're stronger for these connections here at UUCB. So now it's time to renew ourselves, renew this building, the church staff, the grounds as they sprout the crocuses and daffodils that you see as you go out the door. And it's time to celebrate our collective faith in this congregation as a worthy anchor in our lives. So let's all grow and thrive together in these difficult and uncertain times. Let's make UUCB a refuge for all, members and seeking friends alike. Let it be so.
Just another example of the amazing depth of talent in this community. Thank you, Will. This month, our offering goes specifically to the Alternatives for Violence Project Colorado chapter. Nationally, the Alternatives to Violence Project provides direct support for workshops which will empower people to face their life situations in new and nonviolent creative ways. Through workshops, we encourage people to lead nonviolent lives via effective communication, affirmation, respect for all, community building, and cooperation. Traditionally, the workshops are held inside the prison environment, but however, because of COVID and the current lockdown conditions in many prisons, they have begun hosting their workshops online as well. The immediate goals of Alternatives to Violence Project in Colorado are to continue with and reach out to our inside facilitators, those who are in prison, and to support their mental and emotional health during these lockdown times. Second goal is to expand their workshop offerings to additional prison facilities in Colorado and to other community outreach groups, including youth homeless shelters, domestic violence mitigation efforts, and religious organizations. Locally, we have several volunteer openings available, including a position on our 4-member Board of Trustees, or Board of Government. We are looking for individuals with an interest in nonprofit fundraising and in the formation of community relationships and/or partnerships. If you would like more information, let me or any of our staff know. I invite you to give as generously as you're able. The ushers will now take the offering. Gratitude. Your gifts will be used to bring justice, love, and peace to the Boulder community. Thank you. And for those of you who are online, you can make your donation now by using the link that was posted in the chat.
Please rise in body and spirit and join me in singing number 1054, Let This Be a House of Peace.
Let this be a house of peace, of nature and humanity, of sorrow and elation. Let this be our house, a haven for the healing, an open room for question and our inspiration. Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be our house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of freedom, guardian of dignity and worth held deep inside us. Let this be our house, a platform for the free voice, where all our sacred differences here shall not divide us. Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be our house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace. Let all in this house seek truth, where scientists and mystics abide in reverence here. Let this be our house, a house of our creation, where works of art and melodies consecrate the atmosphere. Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be our house of
Let
peace.
this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of prophecy. May vision for our children be our common theme. Let this be our house of myth and lore and legend, our trove of ancient story and cradle of our tender dreams. Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be our house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be our house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be our house of peace.
Let this be a house of peace.
Let this be our house.
The closing words are from Mark Bellatini. Go in peace. Live simply, gently, at home in yourselves. Act justly. Speak justly. Remember the depth of your own compassion. Forget not your power in the days of your powerlessness. Do not desire to be wealthier than your peers, and stint not your hand of charity. Practice forbearance. Speak the truth or speak not. Take care of yourselves as bodies, for you are a good gift. Crave peace for all the people in the world, beginning with yourselves, and go as you go with a dream of that peace alive in your heart.
Go your way in peace. Walk
Your board is listening. Your board is listening. They'll be gathering in the Emerson room. For those of you who are online, you will need to change your Zoom setting. The instructions should be on the screen.